What if I told you there's a voice inside your head that can be your greatest enemy or your most powerful ally? What if that same voice that whispers, "You can't do it," today could one day shout, "You are unstoppable"? This is the story of Emma, a 28-year-old woman who spent her entire life believing she was too small for big dreams. She had no idea she was about to discover a truth that would change everything. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, brick by brick, choice by choice. If you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever doubted your own worth, if you've ever thought you weren't enough to reach what you desire, then this story is for you. Because Emma discovered that the most important person who needs to believe in you is yourself. But before we begin, if you believe in the power of personal transformation, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. You won't want to miss the stories we share here. Emma Wilson had worked as an administrative assistant at a small accounting firm for 5 years. Every day, she arrived 15 minutes early, organized her desk with military precision, and performed her tasks with a silent efficiency that went unnoticed.
Don't draw attention. Don't make mistakes. Keep your head down and do your work.
This was the constant soundtrack of Emma's mind. An internal voice that had convinced her for years that she was just ordinary, nothing special. Someone destined to remain in the shadows while others shined. But Emma had a secret. Every night, after everyone was asleep, she sat in her small bedroom and wrote. Stories, essays, reflections on the life she observed around her. Her words had a raw beauty, an honesty that touched the soul. But nobody knew this.
Who do I think I am to believe anyone would want to read this? There are thousands of better writers out there.
And so, file after file accumulated on her computer. An invisible body of work, created by an author who refused to be seen. The turning point came on an ordinary Tuesday. During the company's monthly meeting, the boss asked if anyone had ideas to improve client communication. Emma knew the answer. She had observed the problems, thought of solutions, even sketched a detailed plan in her notebook. But when she opened her mouth, only a whisper came out.
I might have an idea.
Sorry, Emma, I couldn't hear you. Does anyone else have suggestions?
Marcus, the colleague who always spoke loudest, repeated exactly Emma's idea, just with more volume and confidence. Everyone praised his brilliant suggestion. That night, Emma cried in the company restroom. Not from anger at Marcus, but from frustration with herself. She had the answer, had the solution, but didn't have the courage to be heard.
Why am I like this? Why can't I just speak up?
That question would echo in her mind for the next few weeks. Emma began to notice a pattern. She was hiding. At work, in conversations, in life. She had become an expert at being invisible. Then, browsing the internet during a sleepless night, she found an article about a local writing contest. The prize wasn't large, $500 and publication in the city newspaper. But something in the announcement caught her attention. We're looking for authentic stories about personal growth. We don't want perfection. We want truth. For a moment, just a moment, Emma imagined her words being read by other people. Imagined someone identifying with her stories, feeling less alone. And then the familiar voice returned.
You're dreaming too big. There are real writers participating, people who studied literature, who know what they're doing. You're just an administrative assistant who writes in her spare time.
Emma closed her laptop. Another opportunity she would let pass. Another dream she would bury before even giving it a chance to breathe. But the universe sometimes has its own plans. The following Saturday, Emma was at the grocery store when she overheard a conversation that would change her perspective forever. Two women were talking in the cleaning products aisle.
I can't believe you're actually going to sign up for that cooking class.
I can't believe it either. But you know what I realized? I've spent 40 years saying, someday I'll learn to cook properly. 40 years waiting to feel ready, to feel confident enough. And suddenly it hit me. If I wait to feel ready, I'll die waiting.
Emma stopped pretending to choose detergent and listened carefully.
Confidence doesn't come before action. It comes during. It comes after. You don't wait to feel brave to be brave. You're brave first, and then the feeling comes.
Those words hit Emma like lightning. She had spent years waiting to feel confident enough to act, waiting to feel ready to shine, waiting to be enough to try. That night, Emma sat at her computer and opened the writing contest website. The submission deadline was in 3 days.
What if I'm not good enough? What if they laugh at my writing?
But this time, a new voice began to whisper, a voice weaker than fear, but persistent.
What if you're better than you think? What if your words touch someone? What if the only thing stopping you from shining is yourself?
Emma spent the next 2 hours rereading her stories. For the first time, instead of focusing on the flaws, she tried to read as if she were someone else. And what she saw surprised her. Her words had soul. They breathed. They told truths she didn't even know she knew. They weren't perfect in the technical sense, but they were real. They were human. She chose a story about a woman who learned to find beauty in her own imperfection. Read it once, twice, 3 times, made small adjustments, and then, before courage could flee, clicked Submit.
Done? I did it!
In the days that followed, Emma oscillated between pride and panic. One moment she felt brave for trying, the next she deeply regretted it.
They'll read it and think, who does this person think she is? They'll realize I'm a fraud.
But something interesting began to happen. At work, Emma noticed she was speaking a little louder in meetings. Not much, but enough to be heard. She had proven to herself that she was capable of taking courageous action, and this created a small crack in the wall of insecurity. 2 weeks later, the phone rang.
May I speak with Emma Wilson?
This is she.
Emma, this is Sarah from City Voice newspaper. I have wonderful news. Your piece was selected as a finalist in the writing contest. Actually, between you and me, it was one of the judges' favorites.
Emma almost dropped the phone.
Are you sure? You didn't call the wrong person?
I'm absolutely sure. Your story touched all of us. There's an authenticity there that's rare. Would you like to come to the newspaper to meet the newsroom?
After hanging up, Emma sat in silence for long minutes. She hadn't won yet, but someone had read her words and considered them valuable. Someone had seen beauty where she saw only imperfection. For the first time in a long while, Emma began to question the voice that had diminished her for so many years.
What if I've been wrong about myself all this time?
The visit to the newspaper was a watershed moment in Emma's life. Sarah, the editor, welcomed her with a warm smile and introduced her story to the entire newsroom.
Everyone, I want you to meet Emma. She wrote one of the most touching pieces I've ever read about self-acceptance and quiet courage.
Emma felt exposed, vulnerable, but also seen, really seen, perhaps for the first time in her adult life. During their conversation, Sarah asked a question that would change everything.
Emma, have you ever thought about writing professionally? We have a blog at the newspaper where we look for authentic voices to talk about real experiences. Your words have exactly what we're looking for.
I I don't know if I'm qualified for that. I didn't study journalism. I have no experience.
Emma, can I ask you something? Do you believe your words can touch people?
I I hope so.
Then you have the only qualification that really matters. The rest we learn along the way.
That night, Emma looked at herself in the mirror differently. Instead of cataloging her insecurities, she asked a new question.
What else am I capable of doing if I stop limiting myself?
The answer came in the form of action. Emma began writing for the newspaper's blog, first one article per month, then two. Her stories about overcoming challenges, self-acceptance, and everyday courage began generating emotional comments from readers.
Emma, your article made me cry. I see myself in every word. Thank you for making me feel less alone.
I never thought anyone could express what I feel so well. Your words give me hope.
Each comment was like a brick in building a new Emma, an Emma who was learning that her sensitivity, which she had always seen as weakness, was actually her superpower. At work, the changes were also visible. Emma began speaking up in meetings, not just whispering. Her ideas were heard and implemented. Marcus, the colleague who used to steal her suggestions, now sought her out directly for her opinions.
Emma, you always have interesting perspectives. What do you think about this client proposal?
Emma didn't transform overnight. She still had moments of doubt, still heard the old voice trying to diminish her, but now she had evidence to the contrary. She had proof that she was capable. The big test came 6 months later. The newspaper offered her a permanent weekly column. No longer a blog, but her own space in the printed newspaper.
Emma, we want you to have your own column, Letters to Those Who Doubt Themselves. What do you think?
Emma's first reaction was familiar fear.
What if I can't write every week? What if people get tired of me? What if I'm not good enough for my own space?
But this time, Emma noticed something different. She could hear both voices, fear and confidence, and choose which to follow.
Sarah, I accept. And if I'm not perfect, at least I'll be real.
Emma's first column was published on a Tuesday. The title read, "For Those Who Feel Too Small for Big Dreams." The text began like this.
Dear reader who thinks you're invisible, I understand you. For 28 years, I lived convinced I was too small for anything significant. Today, I discovered that the only small thing about me was the image I had of myself.
The column went viral on the city's social media. Emma received dozens of messages from people who identified with her journey. More important than external success, Emma had discovered something revolutionary. She didn't need to be perfect to be valuable. She didn't need to be the best to be good. She didn't need to shout to be heard. She just needed to be authentically herself. A year after submitting that first contest entry, Emma was in a place she never imagined possible. Her newspaper column had become one of the most read. She received invitations to speak at schools and companies. Most importantly, she had learned to inhabit her own power. But the greatest transformation wasn't in external successes. It was in how Emma talked to herself.
You can do this. And even if you can't do it perfectly, you can do it your way. And your way is enough.
Emma's confidence wasn't arrogance. It was something deeper. It was the serene certainty that she deserved to occupy the space she inhabited. The moment of greatest clarity came during a talk she gave at a high school. A teenager raised her hand and asked,
Emma, How did you stop feeling inadequate? How did you learn to believe in yourself?
Emma thought for a moment and answered with a honesty that surprised even herself.
I didn't stop feeling inadequate. I still have days like that. The difference is that now I don't let that feeling decide for me. I learned that confidence isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to act despite the fear. You know what I discovered? The cruelest person to me was always myself. If I spoke to my best friend the way I spoke to myself, she would never speak to me again. So I started treating myself the way I treat those I love.
But what if we try and fail?
Then you'll discover that failing while trying is infinitely better than succeeding while hiding. Because when you try, even if you fail, you grow. When you hide, you just disappear.
That night, Emma received a message that made her cry with emotion.
Hi, Emma. My name is Julia. I'm 16. After your talk today, I came home and signed up for the school drama club. I always wanted to do theater, but thought I wasn't good enough. Your story taught me that maybe I don't need to be good enough before I start. Maybe I'll become good enough by doing it. Thank you for showing me it's possible.
Emma realized in that moment that her journey hadn't just been about finding her own voice. It had been about helping others find theirs. The woman who once whispered to herself that she wasn't capable now used her voice to shout to the world, "You are stronger than you imagine. You are more capable than you believe. You deserve to dream big and try to reach those dreams."
I used to believe that confidence was something some people were born with and others weren't. Today, I know that confidence is a practice. It's a daily choice to be kind to yourself. It's the courage to try, even with fear. It's the wisdom to celebrate small progress instead of waiting for perfection.
Emma's story teaches us a powerful truth. You don't need to feel confident to act with confidence. You don't need to feel brave to be brave. Action comes first. Feeling comes after. Emma discovered that her lack of confidence wasn't a character flaw. It was simply the result of years listening to the wrong voice inside her own head. When she learned to question that voice, when she decided to experiment with a new narrative about herself, everything changed. Today, Emma continues writing her column. She still has difficult days, still doubts herself sometimes, but she learned that confidence isn't a final destination. It's a daily journey. And you? What voice is dominating the conversation in your head? Is it the voice that diminishes you or the voice that elevates you? Is it the voice that paralyzes you or the voice that propels you? Remember Emma's lesson. You don't need to wait to feel confident to start acting with confidence. You don't need to wait to feel ready to begin. You don't need to be perfect to be valuable. What's your writing contest? What's the small but courageous action you can take today to start building a new narrative about yourself? Maybe it's enrolling in that course. Maybe it's having that difficult conversation. Maybe it's sharing that project. Maybe it's simply looking in the mirror and speaking kindly to yourself. Confidence isn't a gift, it's a construction, and you have all the necessary tools to start building it today. If Emma's story touched you, leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories that inspire transformation. Most importantly, in the comments, share with us what your first courageous step will be. Let's create a chain of mutual support, because just as Emma discovered, you're not alone in this journey, and you are much more capable than you imagine. Remember, the most important person who needs to believe in you is yourself. And maybe it's time to start. Thank you for watching. Now go out there and start writing a new story about who you are and what you're capable of. The world is waiting to meet your true voice.